The YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul was earlier scheduled to meet with Hasim Rahman Jr. at the August 6th event in Madison Square Garden, New York. However, the most valuable promotions had to cancel the fight a whole week in advance. What was the reason for this sudden fight cancellation? Who is to blame? What was Dana White's reaction to this development? Stay tuned and ensure you watch till the end to find out. According to the most valuable promotions, the bout had to be cancelled because Hasim Rahman Jr. failed to make weight. The initial arrangement was for the pair to fight at cruiserweight 200 pounds. Instead of Rahman to cut weight, he insisted that the contract weight be shifted to 215 pounds. Problem Child then took to social media to express his disappointment and explained why the event had to be cancelled. This is just another case of a professional boxer, just like Tommy Fury being scared to fight me, Paul said. It's as clear as day that these guys have been so unprofessional to work with, looking for any excuse to suck more money out of this event to coerce us into doing things. From the jump, I knew in the bottom of my heart that this guy didn't want to get in there with me. It's clear as day.
And this is just another case of a professional boxer, just like Tommy Fury, being scared to fight me. It's as clear as day that these guys have been so unprofessional to work with, looking for any excuse to suck more money out of this event, to coerce us into doing things. And from the jump, I knew in the bottom of my heart that this guy didn't want to get into the ring with me. It's as clear as day.
The explanations of Paul totally aligned with what the promotion earlier disclosed. Paul stated that Rahman Jr. never really wanted to fight. He just used the weight cut as an excuse to back out. The biggest payday of his lifetime's 10 and he's fumbling it, Paul said. For what? Because he knows he's going to get knocked out by me. The pressure starts to set in. It's exactly what happens with all of these guys. Same shit with Tommy Fury. I'm sick of it.
The biggest payday of his life times 10, and he's fumbling it. For what? Because he knows he's going to get knocked out by me. The pressure starts to set in, and it's exactly what happens with all of these guys. Same shit with Tommy Fury. I'm sick of it. I'm devastated.
At the end of the video, the 25-year-old also apologized to the other fighters that were scheduled to fight on the card, especially Amanda Serrano and Ashton Sylve. Hasim Rahman Jr. has not been quiet either, as he also conceded that he actually asked for more weight allowance, but it was not enough reason for the boxing match to be cancelled. In an Instagram post, Rahman claimed that my body simply would not let me do it. It would not let me get down to 200 pounds, but where in boxing do you see them cancelling fights a whole week in advance? I didn't even get my last week to get down as low as I could. I told this man, if penalties involved, keep the purse. Keep the purse. I'd fight for you for the $5,000 minimum. That's how much it means to me, and that's how much faith I have in knocking him out.
My body simply would not let me do it, would not let me get down to 200 pounds. But where in boxing do y'all see them canceling fights a whole week in advance? I didn't even get my last week to get down as low as I could. I told this man, it's penalties involved, keep the purse. Keep the purse. I fight you for the $5,000 minimum. That's how much it means to me, and that's how much faith I have in knocking him out.
Rahman Jr. also stated that the most valuable promotions and Jake Paul were wrong to say that he was the cause of the cancellation because apart from asking for weight allowance, Rahman's team had also offered to substitute him with a natural cruiserweight from his team. This offer was also turned down. Rahman Jr. also used the opportunity to refresh our memory about how Paul had previously boasted that he used to beat up Rahman Jr. anytime they trained together. This was when Rahman Jr. weighed close to 230 pounds. If this was really true, then why is Paul allowing the fight to be cancelled? It's not me pulling out of the fight. It's them not wanting the fight. I never said that I didn't want this fight. The only thing that I can conclude is they are scared. They tried to drag me down, Rahman Jr. said.
Me pulling out the fight, it's them not wanting the fight. I never said that I didn't want this fight. And the only thing that I can conclude is that they scared. I mean, they tried to drain me down. My team's 100% still wanted to fight, still ready, willing, and able to knock out Jake Paul on August 6th. So y'all blame your boy Jake Paul for this fight not happening. It ain't had nothing to do with me or my team. We let them know what the real was, and Jake Paul scared to make the fight.
The cancellation of the August 6th event has stirred up a lot of reaction in the MMA community, and top on the list is that of the president of Ultimate Fighting Championship, Dana White. Reacting to the news, White stated that the fight cancellation was not because of any fighters failed to make weight. Rather, it was due to the lack of interest in the event. Dana White revealed that the tickets sold were not enough to proceed with the event. I think they sold under $1 million in tickets and it costs $500,000 to turn the freaking lights on at MSG, White said at the UFC 277 post-fight press conference. That's what I think. Not to mention hotel rooms in New York and transportation and everything else is very expensive. Although the UFC president and Paul hardly ever get along, White still did not mock Paul or Rahman Jr. I'm not going to sit up here and be happy or gloat that their fight fell out, White said. Both those guys I'm sure put in a lot of hard work and a lot of training to get ready for this fight, spend money to get ready for this fight. Dana also attributed the situation to the people around Paul, especially his business partner Nakisa Bidarian, who was formerly the chief financial officer at the UFC. I will say this, just because you were an accountant here doesn't mean you know what the frick goes on here, it doesn't mean you can run a fight promotion company. Bidarian and Paul are currently co-owners of the most valuable promotions. The UFC former chief financial officer also doubles as the advisor and business partner of Paul. White concluded by advising Paul to get more competent people to guide him. I think that Jake Paul probably needs to get some different people around him, White said. If he's going to stay in the sport, he needs to be with guys that really know how to put on fights. The undefeated Jake Paul, who is currently on a winning streak of 5-0, have always made it known that he would like to fight either Conor McGregor or Nate Diaz, who are both A-listers in the UFC. While speaking with Morning Combat, Paul noted that McGregor would make a tougher opponent compared to Nate Diaz because he was a better striker. McGregor and Diaz are both aware of Paul's desire to fight them. And McGregor on his part has replied severely to Paul on Twitter. While speaking about the UFC star, Paul said that Conor is going to do everything he can to discredit me, but he just wants attention. Paul claimed that the probability of him fighting McGregor was very high. He's just been inactive. I'm the one who's fighting. I'm the one who's building my brand. I'm the one who's going uphill while his entire career has been going downhill. So if and when the stars align, we can make that happen 100%. On the other hand, Paul said Diaz was more open to fighting him. He just knows that I'm the money fight where he'll make the most amount of money, Paul said about Diaz. A lot of these guys know that and they want to let out of their contracts so that they can get the payday. At the UFC 277, Nunes defeated Pena via a dominant unanimous decision, and with this win, she regained back her crown and avenged her loss. Conor McGregor has noted some similarities between Nunes and Pena rivalry and the one he had with Diaz. It's mad to me the similarities of last night's ladies bantamweight world title fight rematch to mine and Diaz's fight. McGregor said on Twitter audio, Number 1, the highly touted, the GOAT of the sport, me and Amanda Nunes, sheer toughness, willing to fight, but caught off guard. In their first match, Diaz used a rear naked choke to defeat McGregor at the UFC 196 in March 2016. A similar thing happened in Nunes' first bout where she lost to Pena by a second round submission. In the rematch between the two pair, Nunes vs Pena and McGregor vs Diaz, McGregor and Nunes both won their second bout by decision. McGregor defeated Diaz by a majority decision while Nunes earned a unanimous decision. The only difference between the two pair is that Nunes' fight was for a title. Do you think Dana White was right about the reason for the fight cancellation? Will Jake Paul ever get the opportunity to fight McGregor or Diaz? You can let us know what you think in the comments section. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. See you in the next video. Goodbye.